What's going on, y'all? Darby here with the AI author. I want to share with you today a new recipe that we just released that I think you'll find very useful in many different forms of writing. And we're just getting it out the door now. So really excited to get your guys' feedback on this. It's going to be the 101 tones of a voice recipe to spice up your writing with Jasper. Now, this recipe, full disclosure, was written entirely inside of Jasper. Actually, this backstory on this recipe was a fire alarm was going off at our apartment complex several months ago. It was raining, so we weren't going to leave. And so I just threw my headphones in, turned the music up, and jumped into Jasper and said, hey, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about what different tones of voices that we can use with Jasper. How do we use tone of voice to spice up and enhance the content? And so I just started asking Jasper to write out a bunch of different tones of voices and descriptions. And in just like sometime like an hour or two, had about 15,000, 20,000 words between that and the morning when I kind of like went back and revisited it. And this is the end product of that. Now it's been going through a lot of editing because Jasper can produce tons of content, but it's not all useful. It's not all helpful. And some of it was just repeating. So we basically generated probably easily over 200, 300 different tones of voice in total, and have trimmed that down to 101, not including like celebrities or anything like that. So that's going to be kind of the wild card that you can mix and match and pair in it. What's a celebrity tone of voice that's going to match what your style of writing is? What are the tones inside of this recipe that you can see and you can access inside of the cookbook, which you should be, you should have access to this if you have an active membership. And then download it into your account. So what I'm going to be using today as an example for this recipe, there's 101 different ones here, is okay, what's an application of this, right? Like how are we going to just start to use these tones to really generate a bunch of different content? Do we use this as a reference just for like, okay, that's an interesting tone of voice. I could see how that's going to reference it. But how I've been using it and testing it out is actually in the form of writing, let's say like a book blurb, right? And say like I have a content brief from an outline or from something that I'm writing, but I want to get a lot of different angles in terms of tone of voice. So I've been writing this story of Pitchlandia. It's the hero's journey sort of structure following a hero named Rich Rock and going against the evil consortium that's wanting to take control of scarcity and develop some evil AI virus called 9 to 5 to defeat that. So Rich Rock finds a secret AI program called Jasper, that he uses to help him come up with great ideas to defeat 9 to 5. And so in doing that, Rich Rock ends up developing a game in the hero's journey called SideHustle, which you can actually buy on Amazon. And it was the game that this book, Funny or Fundable, was written. I just asked Jasper in one day to pitch me 180 different business ideas. And these are all AI written business ideas with very, very little editing. So if you, just to get your creative juices flowing. And so a lot of chit chat there leading into the recipe, but all to preface that there's going to be tons of different use cases for using these tones of voices, pairing like celebrities like a Neil Gaiman in terms of like writing, or other people that have a lot of content out there, musicians, authors, is all great. We're basically, if I want to open up this recipe, pop it open right here, get the recipe into your account. And then now you can just start running it, right? You can take these tones, you can use it in tandem with another project that you have open, or you could say like, give it a command like write a compelling book blurb. And so now it's just going to start generating some different types of content. This is my first time running it necessarily right here. But there's a lot of different ways that we could use these tones of voices to get like different angles and perspective. And honestly, just having him here to reference really quickly is probably how I'm going to use it more often than not. Compelling book blurb, can you defeat, apologetic. And so, like join Rich Rock. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm just going to be, generating a bunch of different types of book blurbs, right? And like ones that are going to really stick out. And if I find a winning tone of voice that makes sense in this contrast, I'm going to be able to use those. And so I'm just kind of think like, okay, what might be a good, like exasperated, right? I'm kind of surprised that Jasper's not flagging for the profanity here. So it's a little bit shorter tone right here. Exasperated, is not cautious, emotional, flirtatious. So this is interesting. So like This is where we might find some maybe has come. I'm just trying to see if Jasper is going to come up with like anything really that different for something that's like flirtatious with this kind of context right here. Thrilling tale. Okay, so see here, it's like a thrilling tale of passion, adventure, and creativity. Like the only thing that mentions passion anywhere here is going to be like the flirtatious. So like if you're writing fiction or something, this flirtatious tone, or like a romance novel, fiction might make sense for something like that. Urban, yeah. So it's talking a little bit more around that fiction style. Let's see formal. Let's see gossipy tone. That'd be interesting. And this is only for book blurb. Like, feel free to use this for all kinds of stuff, right? If you have like one content brief for say, like a bunch of different Facebook ads, right? Like you have like one content brief, right? We like a Facebook ad, right, or something like this. Oh, let me see here. Finish this one out. Author Jane Smith. So like, right, creative story introducing Pitchlandia, right? So again, I'm literally just troubleshooting this like on the fly and seeing like who's gossipy, amazed, view. See, I think like what I'll do here is just kind of like play around with where see like some of the tonality here is kind of interesting. Electric blue buildings, gemstones, soon to covered was indeed the currency. Luckily he meant, and so now it's like literally just writing off this whole story that we could keep building on if we wanted to. But, you know, I'm curious if like a creative story, you know, again, it's all going to be testing it out and coming back, revisiting, doing that, just others here. So yeah, that's how I'm using this recipe right now. And I'd love to get your guys' kind of take on how you're using it. So feel free to fill out the thread in here. You know, drop a comment inside of this thread down here at the bottom. Let us know kind of how it's working with you. And excited to hear what other tones of voices you come up with. Yeah, so that's all for this one. If you guys like this type of content, you want these recipes delivered in a matter like this, we're always going to be improving them. Subscribe at theaiauthor.com if you aren't already. And until next time, keep calm and Jasper on.